Hey guys, Sally here with Kit. Say hi, Kit. Say hi to the people, not just me. Thank you for the kisses. Okay, happy Sunday. And this really is going to be put out on a Sunday this time. The last video I put out, what a difference a week makes. That was also filmed on a Sunday, but it didn't come out until last Thursday. And so in the span of a week, I've gone from having a heat wave, 105, 107 degrees in southern Arizona, to being ridiculously cold, in my opinion, in Tehachapi, California. So I got back a few days ago, and the high temperatures have been 50 to 53, and it's been raining. Today's the first day it hasn't been raining. And then the low temperatures have been in the low 30s, low to mid 30s. So that's been kind of awful. So, I went from wearing a tank shirt and shorts to long pants, thick socks, sweatshirt, running the heat. Go figure. The weather is just crazy to me. Looking forward to getting back to chasing 70 degrees. I got a week or so before I can get out of here. I got some things to take care of. And during the course of the rainstorms the last couple of days, I woke up day before yesterday with it raining inside. I had water dripping in through my air conditioner, so don't know exactly what the story is there. I imagine I probably have a compromised seal on the roof around the air conditioner. So I need to take a look at that and get that figured out. But as I said, this is the first day that it hasn't been raining, and nobody wanted to get up on the roof when it was wet. So going to get a look at that this afternoon, actually. All right, let's roll the intro and get into what's been going on with me. And since I got... Hey guys, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. And if you have subscribed, or you think you're subscribed, double check to make sure you still are, because YouTube has been spontaneously unsubscribing people for some unknown reason. And, hit that notification bell. None of this costs you anything, but it really does help out the channel. And I will also say, if you're seeing this relatively recently, then consider nominating me for the TubeBuddy Rising Star Award. I'll put a link in the video description down below so that you can just go to that link and then, vote for me. That'd be awesome. Okay, so what's been going on? Well, been working on a whole bunch of projects, and I'll show you what those look like a little bit later. But in terms of the whole travel scenario, I ended up having to stay in Yuma for much longer than I really intended to, because I needed to get some dental work done. And I want to talk a little bit about what that's about, how that comes about, and some of the pros and cons of doing dental work in Mexico. So first of all, I got to back up to last August. Last August, I had a toothache in the bottom right rear tooth, and I went to my dentist in Los Angeles with the toothache. She couldn't find anything wrong with the tooth, and did a bite analysis and suggested that the pain was the result of too much pressure because my jaw was so far out of alignment, and that I should use Invisalign braces to correct that. So we ended up doing that, and what that meant is that I didn't do as much traveling as I wanted to over the winter, because I had to be back in LA every 6 weeks to go see the dentist. Wasn't really my idea of fun, and here's the real truth around that for me. The more times I did it, the further into the process, the less I enjoyed it, the more stressed I was getting. And in fact, when I was back there this past week for what is probably my last visit ever, I almost got hit by a car carrying tractor trailer, empty. It didn't have any cars on it. But I'm on the freeway, and I'm in the second lane from the left. This car carrier is in the third lane from the left, so it's to my right. And it puts on a turn signal when its cab is just past my cab. So the whole truck is still like way longer than my RV, which is only 25 feet. And it starts moving into my lane. I'm jamming on the brakes to try and slow down enough so that, he's not going to hit me. And at the same time, I'm moving into the left lane, even though there were vehicles there, so I couldn't, change lanes. I'm just encroaching on other vehicles at this point, trying to create as much space as I can between me and that tractor trailer. That was pretty scary. And I'm not sure if I've got any video of that or not. I'll have to take a look and see if I can patch that in here. So that was super stressful. I ended up having to park like four and a half blocks away from the dentist's office. That was the only space I could find. You know, left Kit alone, so he was stressed out by the time I got back an hour and 15 minutes or so later. And then let's talk about the experience with the dentist. So remember, I had this toothache back in August. Couldn't find a problem with the tooth itself. Started wearing braces. Well, a couple of months ago, tooth started really hurting. And in fact, I'm thinking it was probably like mid-February, because I had just been back to the dentist in LA and I really didn't want to go again, so I didn't really do anything about it right away. But it started hurting more and more, and it reached the point where any kind of heat or cold or any kind of pressure from chewing was causing pretty intense pain. On a scale of 1 low, 10 high, I mean, I was running at like 8, 9 pain level for a couple of minutes at a time, and then it would subside and be okay most of the rest of the time. So, and I've got a pretty high pain tolerance. I'm mostly ignoring it. Well, this went on for quite a while, and I was at Organ Pipe National Park with some friends, and they recommended a dentist that they'd been seeing in Mexico for the past 5 years or so, and several of our other mutual friends have been using the same dentist for, you know, like 8, 9 years. And I thought, you know, maybe I'll just do that. So I called the dentist a couple of days later, and I had a big discussion with them about the fact that I was wearing Invisalign. I was on my last set of trays, and their concern was that if they needed to do a root canal, then I would most likely end up needing a crown, and that my tooth shape would be different than it currently was, and I'd have to get a new set of trays made and prolong the whole Invisalign experience. So I'm like, well, okay, I really don't want to do that. And so I was back and forth between my dentist in LA and the dentist that I was talking to in Mexico. So I called my LA dentist back and relayed what the Mexico dentist had said, and got a referral to an endodontist in Beverly Hills. And we made the appointments, arranged the appointments so that we were going to be able to do them one day apart. About a week before I was supposed to be there, I spent about an hour, hour and a half on Google Maps on my computer trying to find any place that I could park within the city of Beverly Hills. They have a lot of parking garages. Oh yeah, height clearance issues. They even have height clearance issues for the few parking lots that they have that are at street level. So I finally called the parking division, and the gal there said, yeah, about the only thing you can do is park in two metered spaces. You got to pay for both of them on the street. And I used to live not too far from that area, so I kind of laughed and I said, well, my recollection is finding one space with a parking meter is pretty difficult. Finding two together is probably nigh on impossible. And she said, yeah, you're right. So at that point, I'm like, well, this really isn't going to work for me. So I called and I canceled the endodontist appointment and didn't reschedule the dentist appointment yet, because I decided I was going to go to the dentist in Mexico and figure out how to make this work. Well, it turns out the dentist in LA told me that this tooth already had a root canal. So, and that's what they told the endodontist that they sent the x-ray to, which I hadn't looked at the x-ray at that point, even though I had a copy of it. So I called the dentist in Mexico, made the appointment for the following Friday, and by this time my tooth was no longer hurting, and that had me a little bit concerned, like maybe it was dead and I was going to end up with an implant. But I made the appointment for a retreatment of an existing root canal because that's what my LA dentist told me I had. So I get to the dentist in Mexico, actually not on that Friday, but not until the following Wednesday, because I got to have the experience of my slide not being able to operate, and I had to get that fixed on the Friday that I should have been going there. My life has been kind of crazy lately. So, if you're with me this far, and this is part of what Nomad Life's about, by the way. I mean, there is a point to this. So I ended up going to the dentist in Mexico on the following Wednesday, and turns out this tooth did not have a root canal. The tooth in front of it did. the dentist in Mexico looked at the x-ray of the rear tooth and the one in front of it, and they said, not really liking the looks of that root canal. It looks like they used a metal post and amalgam, and we don't do it that way anymore, but I don't see any need to mess with it while it's still working. Okay, fine. Looked at my tooth, looked at the x-ray. The tooth already had a crown on it. They said that the crown had a crack in it and showed me where it was. But again, wasn't necessarily recommending that we replace the crown at that moment. But the crown would ultimately fail and need to be replaced. Now remember, I'm still trying to get to the point where I can get rid of the braces and get into retainers. So they did the root canal, the initial root canal. I had a huge abscess in that tooth. And so they packed it full of medication and then put me on antibiotics for a week before I could go back and have the root canal finished. So what's interesting about that is, among other things, first of all, there was no root canal in the tooth where the dentist in LA told me there was a root canal. And when I looked at the x-ray, which I had in my email, it was very obvious that there was no root canal in the x-ray that they sent me. So that kind of annoyed me a bit, quite frankly, and made me question whether or not I actually needed to go through the whole Invisalign process, like $6,000 later. I think it probably was a good idea, but maybe I didn't need it. So, and the other reason that the antibiotics were an issue is I'm allergic to almost every antibiotic. And fortunately, the dentist in Mexico gave me one that I did not have a reaction to, so I've got that one written down, so I know what I can actually take, at least at this point, because I seem to change allergies fairly frequently or become allergic to more things like that. The treatment was really good. The cost was incredibly cheap. It was $500 for a root canal instead of $5,000 in Beverly Hills. And I decided to go ahead and replace the crown because I didn't want to be at the point where I'd just gotten retainers and then, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 years from now, the crown fails and I've got to get the crown replaced after all. So I did the new crown as well. $450 for the crown. I didn't actually ask my LA dentist what that would have cost, but I looked online and the average cost for a crown in Los Angeles city, Los Angeles area, is $3,000 to $4,000. So again, saved a whole bunch of money, got really nice care. One of the things that I really like about the dentist in Mexico is they don't refer you out to other places. They have all of these specialty dentists on staff in their own office. Where are you going, Kit? Time for breakfast? In their own office. So I don't have to go someplace else. I just stay there. They've got, I may have to move from one chair to another, but that's not a big deal. So I really like that aspect of it. The first time I went there were a couple people in the waiting room I was chatting with, and one couple from Canada had been coming to this same dentist for 27 years. And they said to me that they really liked this dentist, definitely not the cheapest in Mexico. And in fact, they said probably about the most expensive, which is really funny compared to LA prices, right? But they really liked the care that they've been getting. And then I was chatting with another woman who had been coming to the same dentist for over 20 years. So I'm pretty confident. And then the other question that I keep getting from friends and acquaintances is, well, what about the danger? What about the danger of being in a border town on Mexico? Well, Los Algodones is, it's designed to cater to U.S. and Canadian snowbirds for medical and dental care. That's what the whole town is based on. And pharmacies. Let me get a drink. I'm not quite sure why I'm coughing so much today. I got a little bit of a scratchy throat, probably just thirsty. There he is. There's the kit. And there's a heavy police presence all around the border area. And, I'm going like 2 blocks into town. I feel perfectly safe, even being alone. So yeah, I don't have any issues with it. I know some people do. I probably would not do this in towns like Tijuana. In fact, I haven't been in Tijuana and I can't remember how many, probably several decades at this point. And every time I had been there previously, even with friends, you know, multiple people together, I never really felt safe. I feel really safe in Los Algodones, so I'm going to keep doing that. So I finally got the crown finished on Monday last week, and I had changed the appointment with my LA dentist, which was supposed to have been on Monday, to Wednesday of last week. And when I called to make that change, I also felt like the person I spoke with was a little bit snarky about the fact that I had changed the appointment multiple times. And that just didn't sit real well with me. And then I got there, and my dentist wanted to do a full set of x-rays and an exam before we did the digital impressions for retainers, because she wanted to make sure that I didn't need any additional work before we did the retainer thing. Which makes sense. I mean, that's basically why I had the crown replaced in Mexico. And there was no extra charge for that, thank heaven, with everything else that I had already paid for. So she does the x-rays, a lot of x-rays actually, kept redoing like this whole area back here where this new crown was. And then she'd reviewed the x-rays in her office and walked in to the treatment room that I was in and complained about the job that the dentist in Mexico had done, because they put in a metal post and used a metal amalgam, which is really not the way we do it anymore. I said, show me what you mean. So she points at not 31, the tooth that was just done, but 30, the same tooth that the dentist in Mexico had not been happy with. I said, well, that's an old root canal that's been there for I don't know how long, but if you go back and look at the prior x-rays that you have of me, you'll see that that's been present all the way down the line. The one that she just did was 31, which, by the way, was the same tooth that I was complaining about when I came in last August with a toothache. Now, I could be wrong, but when I looked at the x-ray from last October, I think it was last October, that showed this tooth that we just did the root canal on, I swear I could see the beginnings of the abscess area. Because when I looked at the x-ray that the Mexican dentist did when I first went in, I mean, the abscess was like really obvious. You'd have had to been blind not to see it. This was pretty subtle, but I also kind of think that it might have been overlooked, that it's something that could have been addressed much sooner. So I feel like a little bit of neglect in care, quite frankly. And then I got a text message from the office the day after, or the day of, or the day after I was there, that wanted to know if I was going to come back to them or if I was going to just keep going to the dentist in Mexico. And I thought that was a little bit odd. So I just texted back and said I haven't decided yet. Anyway, it's been a whole thing. Basically, it's over at this point. Oh, so it's almost over. So did the impressions for the retainers, and I guess when she ordered the Invisalign set to begin with, they come with retainers already, you know, which are going to fit at the end. And because the last set of trays was actually fitting just fine with the new root canal and new crown, she said, let's just try these on and see if they're okay. Turns out they were. So, thank heaven, I don't have to go back. I've got the retainers. She said, you know, wear each set for about a year, so I guess I've got 4 years worth of retainers. She didn't tell me if I have to continue getting new retainers after that, or if I do it for 4 years, if that's going to hold. Look at how cute he is. So, this video is getting much longer than I intended it to be. Let me show you some of the projects I've been working on around the RV, and I've got about a week left here in the driveway of my sticks and bricks, and then I'm going to be back to traveling, so I'll see you on the road. Okay, this right here is a bag full of clothes. I decided one of the things that I wanted to do while I was here was go through every cabinet, every closet, and redo stuff. Alright, so I'm going to show you a little project stuff. I just finished making breakfast on my induction cooktop, which is now unplugged so nothing's lit up. But what has made this kitchen so much more usable is this. The sink came with a sink cover that covers the entire sink. The problem with that is, first of all, it's plastic or, you know, some polyethylene or something like that. and it's big and unwieldy, and it means that I can't use the sink at all. So I found this cutting board in Walmart, and it fits perfectly, overlapping the counter, covers up most of the big side of the sink, but leaves the small side open. And of course I can, move my faucet around, so I can still access the water, but I can use this as a extra countertop. So I can put my plate there. I can, get out things from the refrigerator and stage them while I'm working and so forth. It has been a total game changer for me. And then I've been going through, as I said, I've been going through all of my cabinets and everything, and now completely reorganized all of my upper cabinets. You can see that white bottle back there. Well, I've got 6 of them. They're 40 ounces each, and they hold fresh water just in case I run out of water. I want to have some available. And I had originally had that cabinet staged so that it was easy to access the water, which I don't ever really need. I just, every once in a while, I'll use it and then replace it. So I rearranged the cabinet this time so that the water's not easily accessible, but it only takes a minute to pull out the stuff that's in front of it here. But now everything is much more accessible. And then my coffee pot goes right in this spot right here. So it's perfect. I'm loving it. All right, let's take a quick look outside. Still working on projects. One project is going to be, I'm going to take my bike off while I'm here and leave it behind. I'm actually at my sticks and bricks. And this is the first semi-sunny day we've had. I'm leaving my bike behind because Kit has huge separation anxiety, so I really can't leave him alone. So here's another thing that I did. I put on this thumb turn for this catch, because I broke it like the week after I bought the RV, and I've been holding it closed with command strips ever since. And I want to put one on the water compartment above it, but I haven't figured out how to get that one off yet. So that's all I've done on the outside so far. I've got a few more projects to go. One of the things that I've got here to be able to fix is my ceiling fan. I've got a new circuit board to put in it, but I haven't done that yet. So we'll get there bit by bit. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, and always remember to sally forth. Live your best life. Go out and adventure in whatever way works for you.